Hi students, today's video is about banking before the 1913 era. So this is basically in the 1800s, and we're going to talk about the first bank and the second bank of the United States. In many ways, the democracy in the United States of America was an experiment. Never before had a country attempted anything like this. We were a young nation. We were working through many problems of government and trying to find the right balance between the government's role and freedom for individuals. So banking in the United States, in the early United States, was just experimental. Some of the history of the United States banking was a process of trial and error, basically as a result of these competing ideas of many people higher up in the United States. So the first bank of the United States, Alexander Hamilton. If you were in my class, you were listening to the music, but you weren't there to hear it, so go listen to it. Go listen to the first song. But I visualize the Hamilton play now when I think about the first bank of the United States, because George Washington wanted Alexander Hamilton, and he accepted, to be the Secretary of Treasury. And he believed that without a strong central government and a strong bank, our new nation would fail. So Hamilton encouraged the new government to accept and pay with interest not only the debts from the war, but also to assume the responsibilities for the debts of the individual states that incurred in this struggle. The federal government established itself as the final authority when this new nation was developed in the mind of Alexander Hamilton. He also urged the creation of the Bank of the United States, who, if you remember in the play, if you watched it, Thomas Jefferson believed creating this type of institution would give way too much power to only a few people, and he fiercely opposed it. And you can visualize those arguments after watching the play. But either way, the bank was chartered in 1791, and here's some pictures of it. It's in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, to be exact. It's in a museum today, so you can go in and you can take a look at that. But I think that's pretty awesome to just look at the architecture and how that was created. Architecture actually fascinates me, how that works way back in the day. The first bank was privately held. Do I have that link there? Was privately held. The government owned about 20% of the bank, and the rest was in the hands of private investors, foreign governments, and again, unhappiness of those who opposed it actually still used the bank. By 1805, the bank had 8 branches. Banknotes became the most common form of currency circulating in the United States. It demanded, not by law, but demanded that state banks redeem their banknotes with gold and silver when they were deposited in the first bank of the United States. The bank almost accidentally performed the role of the central bank at that point in time. They were trying to get just one consistent type of money. But as the nation grew westward, more people resented the control. And then when the bank's charter expired in 1811, there wasn't enough political support, and it ended. So then came, within 5 years, the second bank of the United States. Conflicting state bank policies and economic conditions, Congress just decided to reconsider. And the person in charge of this was Nicholas Biddle. Biddle deliberately improved upon the central banking functions of regulating credit and the money supply by restraining state banks, who then saw the U.S. Bank as an enemy at that point. So he did this by restraining state banks, developers who thought regulation of money and credit supply was not in their interest, was gaining power, but he was okay with that power. And there was a rising resentment because it just seemed like Nicholas Biddle was there trying to restrain the banks, the state banks, and giving too much control and too much power to one force. Now let's go back to what a charter is. A charter is an official document just permitting a business to be a bank. So you have to go through Congress, you have to go through certain authorizations to become a bank. And so the charter gives you the rights to be a bank and to do appropriate things a bank would do, like safeguarding your money, transferring your money. So anyways, that's what a charter means. And they usually grant a charter for a specific period of time. And so 20 years is a long time. President Andrew Jackson took office in 1828 and was a big opponent, did not believe in the bank. He was a chief rival of a senator who tried to renew the bank's charter 4 years early, hoping to make the renewal an election issue, and it totally did. But Jackson went ahead and vetoed the bill. He argued that the bank represented the advancement of a few at the expense of many. And the bank did indeed become that issue, but Jackson went ahead and trounced Clay anyways and got reelected. And that was the first big thing that Jackson accomplished. He saw the bank was unconstitutional. He forced the withdrawal of government funds from it. So that 20% that was in the banks that the government had, he went ahead and spread that money out to a number of state banks. He called them his pet banks, and it weakened and made the bank die. The charter expire in 1836. That's all I have for you today. Please go ahead and watch the videos that has to do with the second bank and the first bank, and you'll be set. Thanks so much.